Welcome back to the Gemini Archives, everybody.
Welcome back.
Dude, can I just say really quickly, before
Yeah.
we get started here, one,
Okay.
we are super excited about today that we're finally going to talk about the Walten Files.
Round of applause, everyone.
Lauren and I are golf clapping, but I will insert the sound here. That and thank you so much for all the love we had from our last episode.
And I am so mad I could not be a part of it. I am so sorry. I literally sounded like I've been eating cigarettes for 10 years straight.
I
mean, it was
know.
really bad. I couldn't even talk because I had bronchitis. So
And we're
now I'm
happy
on
to
the
have you
up and
back.
up. Thank you. I am on the up and up. I'm okay. I'm like at the very ass end of it. It's like holding on, and I'm like, no. And it's like, please. And I'm like, no. So
I know bronchitis, like when I had it, and thank God you caught it early and treated it early. When I had bronchitis, it progressed into pneumonia. I was sick for 2 months. So
just crazy.
that was the fucking worst I ever felt my entire life. My lungs have never been the same, honestly. Yeah. So excuse me. I'm so glad you did not have to go through that, and it was just more of a pain in the ass than anything.
Yeah.
So,
quite literally.
Thank God. But I know. Thank you, Francisco, for coming on. That was a lot of fun.
Please come back because I want to actually meet you.
Yes.
Please.
We will have him back at some point. And thank you for everyone, all the new people that have taken the time to listen, not even to just that episode, but to our other episodes. We appreciate it so much.
That was unexpected, all the traffic we've been getting lately, which is, it's unexpected, but really nice.
So. Yeah, you guys are insane. Like, Lauren and I never promote our shit. Like, when I say we never promote it, I mean we never promote it. And like, just to have that kind of like traffic come to an episode, we were like, holy shit, maybe we should like talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, but, maybe.
So we're excited about today, though. We're finally doing it. Sorry for the delay for all three of you that have been waiting, holding on to
bated breath.
Yes. In our next episode, we're going to have another guest, and we will surprise you all with that. That will be coming next week. So
that we actually have 2 episodes for the next 2 weeks. Who are we?
I know, and they're both going up on Mondays. We're going back to our Monday morning schedule again. Like, what is happening?
What is going on?
What parallel universe are we actually living in?
I know.
So we're excited about that. So tune in next week if you want to see who our guest is. We already recorded that episode because of scheduling and stuff. So it's kind of like Terminator timeline again. We're so excited for you to hear this episode because we had so much fun recording it. So
yeah, we did.
That was just a little bit of housekeeping we had to do. I just had to sweep the floors and wipe down the counters or whatever the fuck you do. And
wipe the counters.
Dude, I am constantly wiping my counters. Constantly.
Oh, same.
Like,
why and how do counters get so sticky all the time? I don't even have shit that's sticky, and it's always sticky.
Well, me either. Like, I go to like cook, and there's like, a thin film of just yuck on it, and I'm like, where did this come from?
It's like no.
Like twice a day, I'm cleaning my counters and my table. I'm like, why is it getting so gross? Like, I do not have granite counters like some people that are privileged, but
they said we have granite counters in our apartment, but it's like laminate that looks like granite. It's actually disgusting.
That's hilarious and illegal because it's not true.
Well, some of the apartments have actual granite, but we don't.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I know mine is just like gross laminate from like the 80s, and like, dude, for some reason it gets so dirty, and I'm like, I want new counters that just are like low maintenance, like last a lifetime. If you have any suggestions, email us at thegeminiarchives@gmail.com.
We're still waiting for that email.
We're still
haven't
waiting.
even checked it. Maybe we got it and I have no idea.
Wait, check it right now. I'm not even kidding.
All right, hold on.
But with that being said,
yes.
We're a little tired today. And me especially, I've been up since 7 a.m. because I tore a muscle in my hip and I just cannot get comfortable and sleep with it.
Ugh.
Unless I'm like laying on my back, it's fine, but I can't sleep on my back. I'm like a side sleeper. So if I lay on the side, that doesn't have the tear, it's fine. But if I want to go to the other side, it's like unbearable. And it's like, ugh. So I spent a good part of this morning with a heating pad on, and whoever invented the heating pad deserves like all the macaroni and cheese in the world. Lauren.
Okay, I'm sorry. I went to go check the email and it signed me out of my Google, so it kicked me out of the meeting.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I hate this retrograde.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm not touching it.
It's okay. Dude, I'll check it from my phone. How about that? Actually, I don't have the wait, I do have the password. Hold on.
Good idea. Don't let me touch anything. I'm serious, Megan. I am so done with this fucking retrograde. I want it to be over.
And here I am
talking tomorrow, and it cannot just let me have it. Like,
Dude, and here I am just talking about the inventor of the heating pad being the best thing since sliced bread, and you're like, I'm just gonna disappear. I
am so sorry.
Like, was it something I said?
Are we gonna keep this in?
Well, I'll cut out the parts that were silent, but yes.
Okay. So what did you say about the guy with the heating pad?
So, what did I say? I said, I don't even remember now. We're keeping all of this in now because fuck it.
Son of a bitch. I'm sorry.
I checked the email, by the way.
Okay.
We have like a couple like promotional ads, which I don't know how because we never signed up for fucking anything. Google sucks. Like, what is this? Stanford Online, Car Shield, Apple Podcasts. This is all from January.
Oh boy.
Oh God. Jesus Christ. Welp, much for that. Somebody email us at thegeminiarchives@gmail.com. But do it when we're not recording.
Yeah, so I don't lose because we do this through Google Meets. So I don't lose my fucking mind. Do it when we're not recording. Ugh.
Lauren.
God, like I am just having a week, a month, a year so far.
Dude, you know what? It wouldn't be a Gemini Archives episode if we didn't have some kind of like technical issue.
Well, seriously, and like here's the thing, Meg, it's like this year is testing me. It's testing me bad. This is the third time in 4 months I've been sick. I fucking like every piece of technology I own is like broken almost. I got my bathroom fan is like screaming at me because it needs to be cleaned and oiled with fucking WD-40. I have rust everywhere in my apartment. Everything is falling apart. Like everyone can't wash their fucking hands and keep their germs to themselves. Dude, I'm losing my fucking mind. Like,
do you feel better?
Yes. Like, God damn, man. I'm like, if anything else happens, whether it's like, I fracture a fingernail, I will lose my mind.
Let's all take a deep breath here.
It's 10 a.m. here, and I'm screaming.
I'm going to put in some spa music. We're all going to take like 10 seconds. All right, do we all feel zen now?
I'd feel more zen if I didn't live in this fucking dumpster fire and away from all these germy-ass fucking people.
Well, you're moving soon, right? To a new place?
Yeah, in August when our lease is finally up. I have to put in my fucking 60-day notice soon.
Well, thank the Lord.
I know, I'm finally getting out of this dump. So.
I'm very excited about that.
Me too. Everyone say a prayer because I'm going to lose my mind. Anyway.
Everyone, pray in the comments, just go pray for Lauren.
Yeah, and it has to be number 4, otherwise it's not real.
Yes, no, pray number 4, Lauren. Oh shit. So I feel better, thankfully.
I'm glad.
My
That
heating
makes
pad
one of
worked.
us.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad, but I know we're gonna have Francisco back on too. We'll do your episode. And I know you had like other stuff planned that week too that you just could not do because
Well,
you
it
were
wasn't
sick.
that I didn't have stuff planned. It's that they were doing repaving of all the blacktop right outside my apartment that day. Even though they were supposed to do it 4 days before that, and they just took their sweet fucking time. And the one day I'm like, I wish they just wouldn't have construction today. It was right out my fucking window. I couldn't do anything about it.
Well, I meant
So,
you wanted to go other places too, right? Like you had other stuff like planned for the week. That week you got
oh,
sick.
just to the movies, but that was about it.
Oh, I thought there was something else. Sorry,
Maybe I just can't remember.
I didn't wake up an hour ago. I got out of bed an hour ago, so I have brain fog.
Yeah,
So, when
I
I tell
understand.
you, it woke me out of a sound sleep. It was like somebody stabbed me in the hip. Like
Oh
that's how
yeah,
bad it was. It was awful. So, I'm moving a little slow today. And of course, I have to go outside and pick things up out of the driveway and, do all this shit that I really shouldn't have to be doing, but, people are inconsiderate.
I know.
And
It's
I'm
early,
bending down.
everyone. Like, just give us a break.
I know. We always do episodes when we're tired. I don't know why we do this.
I
Like,
don't know.
I'm drinking coffee. It's not even caffeinated. It just makes me feel like I'm caffeinated. So I'm drinking coffee out of.
I know. And I went to make coffee, accidentally grabbed decaf like a dumbass, and now I'm not even awake. So now I have to like drink a Baja Blast later or something.
Ooh, I miss Baja Blast. Ugh,
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
so upset that I can't drink them because they'll never make caffeine-free version. I don't drink caffeine, by the way. I've probably said that before, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Um, I don't drink caffeine, so I don't drink a lot of, like Mountain Dew and stuff like that I used to love, but now I cannot drink it. So
Can't snot.
I can't snot, as you say.
Yeah.
Um, I used to love what's it called? Mountain Dew Code Red. That was like my go-to, like if I'm drinking soda, like that's what I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss it so much. I'm like,
I
I just
know.
want it. But, you know, it's fine. I still
Yeah.
could drink coffee at least. So, though decaf, it's just not the same. It's like buying the off-brand version of like Cheerios or something.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just called like fucking honey O's or something like that.
yeah. It's like it's just not like it I get it, like it's similar, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like
It's
though I
not the same. Sorry.
though I will say though, like I'm more of like an off-brand kind of person anyway, because I'm like, it's literally the same thing. Why am I gonna spend $5 extra for the same fucking thing? Like,
I
can we
know.
just take a second and like acknowledge it? Sorry, like this is probably not interesting for fucking anyone, but I'm
I know.
gonna
You're
say it.
just like, get to the Walton Files. It's coming. Like, just give us a minute.
We're doing a slow build up, like
Hmm.
heartburn. I
Well,
don't know
that's
why.
one way to put it.
I don't know why I said it that way.
Like heartburn.
I promise this is going to be way more pleasant than heartburn.
I literally. You could have said like an orgasm or like.
Well, that's a little too much, isn't it?
Well, what's the happy medium between heartburn and orgasm?
I don't know, filing your taxes.
That is not the middle.
I don't know.
Well, actually, I'd rather file taxes than have heartburn. That's for sure.
Well, same. Dude, I'm a weirdo. Like, I actually enjoy filing my taxes. Is that weird?
Yes, because I hate it.
Dude, and I know I help you and Quinn.
Hmm.
Well, I had the last few years, and um I don't know. I just enjoy it for some reason. My last job, I did like tax stuff too, but it was related to health insurance. And ever since, I was like, I like this. Maybe I should like do tax shit. I don't know. I just like it. I don't know why. I'm a
Yeah.
weirdo. I also have like textbooks about like all kinds of like boring shit, just like literally sitting in my living room. I'm like, why
Yeah.
am I like this? But yeah, so for me, the halfway point would be doing my taxes. For you, probably not. So,
No, not even a little bit.
oh shit.
I think that's a step above heartburn, but not the halfway.
Step above.
Yeah.
I know what would be the halfway point then between heartburn and an orgasm?
Let
Probably
us know in the comments.
yeah, tell us. For you, what is it? For me, it would be like doing my taxes. I was gonna say riding a roller coaster, but I would rather have heartburn than go on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I am well, not only do I get motion sick, but I am just terrified of fast rides. I don't like them. Like they don't do it for me. So, and I get like dizzy and nauseous, and it's like, who enjoys this? Like, I don't
My
know.
husband.
Quinn, we're gonna have to have a talk.
Yeah. Well, he's afraid of heights, but he loves roller coasters. And I'm just like, what is the point? He's like, well, I like that they go fast and, you're strapped in there, so it's safe. I'm like, well, not really. I mean,
Mostly safe. We'll say that. I've watched enough like disaster roller coaster videos to like know they're not always safe. But
no. Especially if you get stuck on them and you're like upside down. It's like there's no easy way to get off of a roller coaster.
I would just have somebody come take me out. I'll be like, you could put a bullet right here and here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather die than be in this predicament right
Megan
now.
pointed to her chest when she said that too.
I pointed specifically to like just where your collarbone is on your right side. That's where you bleed out the fastest. Anyway.
Good to know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can understand that though. Like, being afraid of heights, but being able to do roller coasters, because when you're like going that fast, you don't even process how high you are.
I mean, that is true.
Unless it's like the first drop and they, it's like a 90-degree angle to get up there.
Like the hill from rock bottom.
Dude, I've seen roller coasters like that where it's like a 90-degree angle and then they stop at the top and kind of like lean a little bit, but they don't go right away. I would literally just shit myself.
Yeah, like, I would literally rather have like the Jackass where they put the paper cuts and the webbings of their fingers and toes.
Oh God,
I would rather have that than deal with that.
I had like a visceral reaction to that. I can't even watch that. That's like the worst one.
That hurts my stomach to watch.
I watched the porta potty bungee thing where Steve got shit flung all over him.
The poo cocktail supreme or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Like I watched that and I was fine. The paper cut thing, I fast forward through every time.
I know, I can't.
Dude, like, and I've watched those Jackass movies hundreds of times. Like you and I collectively have watched them so much. Like,
and that's the one that just gets us every time. Like,
Dude, we started watching Jackass when we were like 10 years old. That is way too
young. More like
young.
11, like 10, 11, yeah.
Yeah, that way too young still. Like,
yeah, we shouldn't have been watching it.
Oh my God. And it's like full-grown men running around with their cock and balls hanging out, fucking doing gay shit, doing,
yeah, and we're literal children, just like.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, confused as hell. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, never seen a penis in my life aside from my baby cousins, and it's like I did not know they could get that big. So
and I watched one of the first things I ever watched was Steve-O like snort the goldfish and then vomit it back out.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that fucked me up because just the logistics of like you can do that like fucked me up so bad.
That poor goldfish.
Oh, I'd
be like, kill me. Honestly.
I know that poor goldfish. It's like he went to like the back rooms, just like, where was I? Like,
he no clipped into the back rooms.
He no clipped into Steve-O's mouth and nose.
That's another episode we're gonna have to do is about the back rooms.
Yes, if you like the Walten Files and all that weird analog horror stuff, the Backrooms is because quick side note, I recently watched a playthrough of the game Return or Escape from the Backrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Escape the Backrooms, yeah.
And oh my god, like the imagery alone, like there's a level, I guess, where it's just like all pools, like the pool room.
Mm-hmm.
And do you understand how bad I want that to be a real thing?
I know.
Like just a building and all it is just pools.
Yeah.
And just wall to wall tile and I want that. Lauren and I are pool enthusiasts.
Oh yeah.
We are like part mermaid probably. Like
probably.
We love swimming and being in the water and stuff like that. So when I saw that, not only is it just like something that looks fun, it just seems very relaxing to me.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I know like that game is supposed to be like scary and like make you feel uneasy. That level I was totally zen. I was like, yeah, if this is just the game, I'd be happy.
Right.
But there's other levels too where it's like a giant parking garage and the actual back rooms, like from the original, like was it a film? I don't even know what it was. It was a video,
the
like a series.
Backrooms?
Yeah, on YouTube, right?
Well, the Backrooms was a concept made by like a liminal space like community on the internet of just like this place existing that no clips out of reality, and it's endless yellow halls with fluorescent lights, and it's supposed to be scary, on its own. But then what really made it take off was it was a creator on YouTube who was like 16, mind you, when he started it, who created a backrooms story, and it like had a monster in it, and there's more like depth to it and like more secrets to it that he just kind of made up than what it was originally supposed to be. So what started as like this scary concept of a liminal space turned into an actual analog horror story, which is pretty cool. So
dude, also in that episode too about the Backrooms, we're going to talk about Nick and Ryan's Liminal Land. I don't know if you've seen the videos and stuff, but
I need to actually, I've only saw the website briefly. I need to like really deep dive and like read it.
There's only like 5 or 6 videos, and the longest one I think is like 10 minutes. Like it's very short. And one of the videos is very like it's reminiscent of like the missing persons ad that was like mysterious with Joanna Lopez. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They took that and just put random pictures in that same style and stuff. It's creepy.
That is like, well, I remember Nexpo or Ryan, he made he does his disturbing things from the internet series, and that was on it, was the missing person, the Joanna, whatever her name is.
Joanna Lopez. Yeah.
Joanna
it was
Lopez.
It was at the end of like the broadcast for the day, and they had played it after the broadcast, and like the picture was so like high contrast, black and white and like crude. And I'm gonna link the video with her in that.
Yeah.
Because that scared the shit out of me.
I know, it's good. Like this stuff really gets under my skin, but a lot of it isn't like real, obviously, but like that one was, I think.
All right. Yeah, no, that was real.
Yeah.
That was real from like the Chicago area in like the 90s, I want to say.
80s or 90s, yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there. And honestly, watch the whole series, Nexpos, and we've talked about this before, disturbing things from around the internet.
Yeah.
Like it is terrifying and so good.
It's these compilation videos of stuff he finds from around the internet that is just kind of creepy, and he doesn't really go in too depth about them, but sometimes he'll make like longer videos about those topics, but mainly it's just like a compilation of creepy stuff you can check out from the internet, which is really cool.
Dude, I love them because I love creepy stuff. I just don't have the patience to go and like
deep dive.
Search for it myself. So someone does the work for me. I'm like, thank you. And they're like and subscribe. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do all that shit as long as I don't have to do research. Like,
right.
So
dude, talking about all this creepy shit now, I'm so ready to talk about the Walten Files.
Oh, I know. And speaking of research, that's why it took so long, because there was, when we originally wanted to do the episode, a fourth part came out to like all the main videos.
Yeah, just recently it came out, like as of a couple months ago, I believe.
Yeah.
From the time of recording this. We're recording this at the end of April in 2024. Yeah. So, and it came out the end of February 2024. So
yeah, we were like, fuck, now I gotta watch this and see how it fits in with everything. And like,
in that fourth video actually explains a lot. So good thing that we waited and like took notes.
Yeah, I kind of like tied up all the loose ends, so to speak. And you know, that's why like formulating like a timeline, which we're not going to focus on too much. We're going to give a very abridged version of the events that happen.
Right. And if you really, really want to like get like into the lore of it and like really hear the story, just go to, it's a YouTube channel just called Walten Files. Just go check it out.
Yeah.
You know,
like I'll link the YouTube channel, and I'll also what's the other one? Oh, the film theory about it. Yeah. Well, there's 2 film theories. I'll link the first one, and then you can find the other one from there.
Yeah, there's 2 film theories. The film theory channel, we should say.
Yes.
The official, like, you know, it's part of the GT, you know, game theory lore channels. There's like 4 of them. Film theory is one of them. So
right. So if you want to check those out, and there's the GT lives too, where they do it live and they break it down bit by bit. And
Matt you know, watches it for 10 seconds, hits the pause button, talks for 5 minutes, another 10 seconds, hits the pause button. I mean, it's a little lengthy, but if you want to hear someone else's perspective, he has good perspective about it, honestly. Yeah. And like, I'm pretty sure Nexpo did a Walten Files video as well. So
yes, he did, and it's long. It's like over an hour long.
Yeah. So if you don't want to watch like all those GT lives or whatever, that's another good one. So
I recommend the GT lives though, because the Nexpo one, it doesn't have the 4th part in it because it came out a while ago. So
oh, that's right. And they talked about the 4th part.
Yeah. So in the 4th part, I think is the most crucial, because with the Walten Files, there's 4 like main videos, but then there's like what the creator of the channel dubs as non-canon videos. But they still offer like little bits of like background for other characters involved and stuff like that, but they're not necessarily like canon events that happen.
Right.
So if you want to check those out too, they're all very short. You can watch honestly all the videos in a day if you wanted to. And the art style is cool, and we're going to get into that.
I know. Let's go to a break so we could get into it, because we're already starting.
Yes. So I'm going to put in Absu this week.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to put in the song that was from the Gummo soundtrack. The name evades me. Something about gold. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I just woke up and I don't have it in front of me.
I forgot they were on the Gummo soundtrack. Quinn has that whole playlist saved on YouTube, and I was looking through it. And I'm like, there's some good shit on here.
Have you ever watched Gummo?
I refuse because they kill cats.
You don't. I own it. You don't see it. It's implied. So.
All right, as long as you don't see it. I don't want to see cats get killed.
Well, the reason they kill cats in the movie is because there's an overpopulation problem. So they're just trying to control the population.
Which is kind of like rabbits in England, where they like do it as like a population control thing.
Yeah, it's sad, but you know, you don't actually see cats like dying. At least I don't think so. I only watched it one time. So I wasn't scarred by it. The most disturbing part is the end. So with the kid in the bathtub, that's fucking gross.
Well, I don't want to know what that is.
Well, it's you have to watch it at least one time.
All right.
Trust me. I had to literally buy the DVD because they refuse to stream it anywhere.
Yeah, I bet. So, you could probably get it on like Pirate Bay, but
probably. Harmony Korine movies are fucking crazy. But anyway,
when I come visit you in a few months, we'll have to watch it.
That's right. Lord's coming in October to
Yay! More applause.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm gonna cartwheel out the door when you guys arrive.
I know we're going the beginning of October for a week, so
I'm so excited to have you guys home, especially because very quickly before we go to the break, the last few times, well, the last time you were home was for your wedding. That was just crazy. But the time before that, when you came to visit, my ex was kind of in the way, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, I felt like I couldn't actually hang out with you guys because I had to babysit him.
I know.
So now that we don't have to worry about that, I'm even more excited.
It is totally fine.
I am so excited.
Well, and the reason we're coming out for a week too is because my parents are supposed to be coming here in like 2 months, and they were planning to come for 2.5 weeks. And they, we recently found out our family cat, Picasso, she's got kidney disease and she's got arthritis. So they have to start taking to the vet more for like this arthritis injection and check up on her. And around the time that they're coming to visit, she has to go back and get tested for like blood work and make sure she's doing okay. And that the medicine, well, not the medicine, but like the food that she's eating and like all the stuff is like working for her. So I kind of talked to my parents about it, and my husband couldn't even get time off from work for 2.5 weeks. Just one day he was able to get off. So he put in the time for October for, the week that we're going to come out, which is good. But I told my mom, I'm like, hey, let's shorten the trip so that way you can take Picasso to the vet. No one has to worry about taking a lot of time off, and then we'll come see you in October. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. And
so
I think
they're coming for
better.
a week and a half instead, and then we'll be out there for a week. So
I'm so excited.
And we just kind of want to go back to New England anyways because we miss it, especially around Halloween. So
we miss you. I know, and you're going to be coming in like prime Halloween time, so we can like
Halloween. Wow. No one does that anymore. I am the only person in 2024 quoting Doge memes. God's sake.
Oh, Lauren.
Anyway, someone shut me up so we could go to a break and actually talk about the shit we want to talk about.
We're going to put in some Absu and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
So, it's time.
The time has come. Are we going to put cool music over here?
Probably.
Sweet.
We're going to put some ambient music on for you. We're going to set the mood.
Hell
starting now. Okay. So, the Walten Files. I know some of you already know what this is. A lot of you are probably going, what the fuck is so special about it? So, the Walten Files is considered an analog horror series. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, it's basically just like, how would you describe it, Lauren? Like,
it's like a made-up horror series that is archived in video. You know, it's like the video version of a creepypasta. So they're completely made up, but they are, you know, formatted in videos to look like they're gonna be real, but they're not. So
yeah. So like I looked it up on Wikipedia of all places, because I'm like, I don't really know what the exact definition is, and they describe it as a subgenre of horror fiction and an offshoot of the found footage films genre, said to have originated during the late 2000s, early 2010s. So it's basically using... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's like the Blair Witch Project, but on YouTube.
Yes. So the Blair Witch Project was probably the very first example of that. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's been like hundreds of copycats ever since.
Oh yeah, you know, they're coming out with a remake, by the way, which I'm like, fucking why?
Why? It's fine the way... I know people hate it, but I love it, honestly. Like,
I do too. I love the Blair Witch, but like, we don't need to keep remaking things. Like, just think of something else. You know,
honestly, just do something different. But
yeah,
so that's what analog horror is. So, the Walten Files is basically, and they said it in one of the videos, I'm not sure which one, but they were basically a compilation by a guy only referred to as Anthony, and it consists of other like things like training tapes and found footage and animations and stuff from when a restaurant called Bond's Burgers was in business. And at the beginning of the timeline, so if we're going from the very, very beginning, excuse me, there were two guys named Jack and Felix, and they came up with the idea for a robotic entertainment restaurant, and this is in 1974.
Which, by the way, so niche of two people to have that same kind of idea.
Right, you know, so it's like, it's kind of like a stretch, but also just want to point out that this would not be canon in like a real life setting, just because the first Chuck E. Cheese, which is the first restaurant of that type of any kind, didn't open until May 17th of 1977. So this is 3 years before Chuck E. Cheese was even a thing. And Chuck E. Cheese was founded by Nolan Bushnell, who worked for Atari. And the concept of the Chuck E. Cheese was to showcase the video games, you know, the Atari games and everything, in a way that was entertaining, and it was inspired by Disney by having the animatronics, and Disney is known for their animatronics.
It was a way to bring Disney to places that aren't close to Disney.
Right. So, you know, they were inspired by Disney, and Chuck E. Cheese is really the very first pizza restaurant to really do that. Then came Showbiz Pizza and blah, 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 and there was like a bunch of other different places. So in this universe, we'll call it, this was happening in 1974, and Jack and Felix went to college together. They were under management of a company called Bunny Smiles Incorporated, or BSI. And they put in all their time and effort into this restaurant. And 1 month before it opened so the opening date was May 2nd of 1974. There was an incident that happened where Jack had asked Felix to give his two children, who are Ed and Molly, a ride to a school dance. And when Felix went and brought them, and I guess things were different back then, there was like a bar for like the adults at the dance, and he threw back one too many. And then we find out he has a drinking problem, and earlier that day his wife left him because of it. So he was just like on this downward spiral that whole day. And when he was bringing the kids home, He was obviously too intoxicated. He got in a car accident. He survived, but the 2 children died.
So this is his partner, his business partner's 2 children, his son Ed, daughter Molly, did him a favor by picking up from the dance, and he's drunk driving, kills him. It's horrific.
Oh, it's awful. So instead of, confronting Jack about it, what he does is buries the kids out in the woods, with like their favorite stuffed doll, which becomes prevalent at some point later.
It's a gray rabbit.
A gray rabbit named something. I can't remember the name. I'm so sorry. I didn't write it down. The one thing I forgot.
They don't really say the name, so
they don't.
Not really. It's just that it was their doll,
So yeah, he leaves them with the doll, whatever, and then Jack, a few hours later, when they never show up back home, is blowing up Felix's phone. He's not answering. It was like this whole ordeal.
He goes to his house and he's like, I know you're home. Where are you? And that's something you see in the 4th video. And that's why it's so important that we watch the 4th video, because it gives way more context to this incident and what actually happened.
Right.
So
after that, on June 11th, which is a little over a month later, Jack just goes missing and nobody knows where he is. Like, he just disappeared without a trace after this incident. And then the restaurant finally opens on June 28th, 1974.
So the date got pushed back from the 2nd to June 28th because of the incident and because Jack goes missing, I'm sure. So
right. And they still open despite him being missing. 2 days later.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, quick side note too. Felix kind of just cut him out of everything too, even though it was both of their restaurant that they open. There's a picture of them shaking hands. You could see in a picture, it's just Felix in the picture. There's no Jack to be seen. He's completely, even though it was both of their idea, when it opens, Jack is just completely out of it. He has no part of it at all.
Yeah, he just had no problem with simply erasing him. Felix is obviously not a good person. And we learned that very early on. Excuse me. So a couple days after they open, they have their first birthday party, and that same night, their head technician, and her name is Susan Woodings, I believe. Let me just
Susan Woodings.
Susan Woodings. And she was murdered by the main animatronic named Bon, who is a bunny.
So Bon is the one you will see in every thumbnail. He's the blue bunny. He's the main guy. He's the Freddy Fazbear of this universe.
Yep. And then she was stuffed inside the suit of one of the other animatronics named Banny, who was like the female bunny from the...
She's the purple bunny, who's the female. So
yes. And I probably should have started with this, but this story is meant to... It was inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's and that concept, but it's a very loose adaptation.
The only way you really see comparisons is people getting murdered and stuffed into animatronics. It's a chain restaurant that has the animatronics. It's kind of the same theming, but completely different backstory, as you could see from the owners having the falling out, and him Felix accidentally murdering his kids, Jack's kids. So,
and that's the other thing too, why burgers out of everything? Bon's Burgers, who the fuck?
I know.
I can understand
maybe maybe they're thinking McDonald's, the fast food burger or something like that, because that was unbelievably popular in the 70s, was McDonald's, and having the playscape there. So it might have been a kind of McDonald's type place, just with animatronics.
Very true.
So, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because I was always that is such a weird thing, burgers. But I mean, I guess it works. And I mean, like I said, it's not canon to a real life setting, just because this predates any Chuck E. Cheese or any restaurant like that of its kind. So I'm taking a lot of this with a grain of salt. I don't think it could actually happen. But what was I saying before that? Oh yeah, so then that was the first murder that happened, was their head technician, Susan Woodings, who serviced the animatronics and stuff. I'm just trying to get through the timeline real quickly. So then after that, July 14th of 74, there was an employee only known as Charles at that time was murdered and then stuffed into one of the animatronics, who was a magician named Buzu. And
Yeah.
I love Buzu.
I think Buzu's awesome, but also in the fourth part that just came out too, you kind of learned that Charles worked with Susan, who was murdered first, the head technician. Like he worked hand in hand with her, so he probably was some like head of operations or a manager or something like that. So he probably had like a significant role, but they never exclusively said what it is. But they kind of keep him anonymous. They don't really go too much into Charles. So
yeah, and like there's another video too where it's like, you know, it was speculated that he probably worked for like a parent company to BSI or something. So he was like the boss of Jack and Felix, basically, like the head honcho. Because the way they depict him usually is like, if you watch some of the other videos, like the non-canon videos, he's always like shown as like greedy or like a Scrooge type person, because it was like a Christmas one and he's portrayed as Scrooge.
Oh, right.
And
that's right.
So yeah, so they think he's probably some kind of like, you know, corporate greedy head honcho that was trying to like dictate everything or something. So, which it would explain why they, you know, took him out, basically, because he was not a good person. So 4 days after that, 5 days after that, I'm sorry, July 19th of 74, Rosemary Walten, who was Jack Walton's wife, she was visiting the restaurant. She was kind of in and out, like looking for him. She's been, you know, still searching for her husband. He's still missing. And when she went on that day, she was met with Bon behind the main stage. She heard something coming from the main stage and she saw Bon. And then he prompted to dismember and stuff her into one of the other animatronics, which is a sheep named Shah. And the police there, you see like a video of like the police report from that time, or like some kind of report. And it was reported that a woman was screaming from the restaurant. And then after that happened, the employees removed the animatronics from the main stage.
And what's so crazy about Rosemary too, and that you also see, the fourth video is very important. It gives a lot of backstory. She was the one who created the entire cast of the band, like the animatronic band, is called the Showstoppers.
The characters.
The characters. She's the one who created them all. She's the one who drew the concept art and all the characters or whatever. She's the main creative force behind it. So that's why, you know, her, you know, being at the demise of like her own creations, it's just kind of fucked up. You know what I mean?
It is fucking crazy. And
because we didn't know for a long time how she connected to anything other than being like Jack's wife. But that gave more context as to like, oh, she actually plays a major role because she brought these characters to life, you know?
Yeah.
They
and
were
same
her
with
characters.
Susan too, because she's the one that serviced them and maintenance, you know, did all the maintenance.
She quite literally brought them to life, yeah.
Yeah. So, and she programmed them, did all that stuff. So yeah, it's just crazy. So that was like that was a span within like a month or so. All these disappearances and murders were happening. So the following day, July 20th, like only 2 more families were given access to the restaurant, and then it was just closed down for good because it got all that, you know, bad press and all the murders, and so, you know, nobody was coming around, obviously. So a couple months later, funny enough, on Halloween night of 74, so October 31st, there you see them in one of the episodes that photos were taken of the boarded up restaurant. And between this period, Felix was actually creating a storage facility, and this is the name of the forest where he also buried the children, at St. Juana Forest. I think that's what it's called.
I think it's called St. Juana. Yeah, like Juana, St. Juana.
St. Juana. And so he's creating this storage facility way out in the woods to house any of the items from Bon's Burgers, including the animatronics. And then
it's the same place where he buried Jack's children after he crashed his car and he killed them, you know?
funny, and you know, that goes completely undetected, which is wild. The 70s are wild. And so the vault was finally completed between November, December-ish of 1974. And that was based on a photo that was taken, and it was dated December 10th of 74. So now it's like the restaurant's closed down, all the stuff's been moved, it's in storage way out in the woods. You know?
And ironically, right next to the burial site of Jack's children is where these animatronics and all this stuff is, which is crazy.
Which is insane. Like that, the ego of someone, like, oh, I'm gonna put all this right. He might as well have like a neon sign above them.
I know. That's like psychopathic behavior, or like something that serial killers do. I notice is like they always return to the scene of their crimes, or a lot of them do. Some don't, but
yeah, that was like, you know, John Wayne Gacy inviting people over. He's got bodies in his crawl space. Like, oh, everything's just fine and dandy. Like,
a pride thing for them. Like, they're proud of doing that, which is disgusting.
Yeah, like they're invincible and oh, they won't get me. Like,
yeah, it just shows how fucked up Felix is, for sure.
Right. So and it's just another thing that leads to him just being a terrible person. Yep. So then that happens, and so January 23rd of 75, so this is a couple months later, or like a month later, after that picture was taken, there was another picture taken showing the animatronics in the facility, and let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of like going off my notes, and I just lost track.
So they were locked within the vault. Even though all the animatronics were locked away, BSI continued to, you know, receive income through merch, and they had a TV show and a movie, because they, you know, used the likeness of the animatronics for all of that. So, so even though the restaurant was closed, they still, you know, use those animatronic in characters in different formats of media and stuff like that. So, and merch.
So, which is crazy, you know, given that they had like all that history, all the murders and everything, they were still like profiting off of it, which is
And in the first Walten Files video, you could see one of the cartoons that they kind of based the characters off too, and that's really creepy. Like, it ends really weird. So
it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And once we get through the timeline, we're definitely going to talk about the art style, because what makes this so much creepier is the art style that goes with it. Excuse me. So what were we just talking about? So yeah, they're still profiting off of like the characters and everything. So on April 5th of 77, so this is a couple years later, detectives actually went to the Waltons' home, and they had discovered that it had sat abandoned for 3 years. There wasn't even a trace. Like, the only thing they could find was just like a new pack of cigarettes, and no one was able to provide any new information. And the detectives did mention, though, they did take away Felix's license due to numerous counts of DUI. And I just think that's a really funny detail, because considering that's how he killed the children and all this kind of started.
But it's good to know that they put a stop to it, at least, that he can't hurt anyone else because he can't drive.
Right. And it's just crazy to me that despite that happening, he still continued to do the same thing. Like, that just shows you how cold and like sociopathic he was, like, for lack of a better word. So that's crazy. And then in 1978, so a year later, Felix comes up with this plan, and he tells it the Relocate Project, which is, I think, the title of one of the videos.
Yes.
I don't remember which one it was. I think it's either the third or the fourth one, or the second. I don't remember.
It wasn't the fourth, because I just watched that today.
So it's either like the second or third video. And what the Relocate Project was, it was a project for the animatronics to be moved into a new location and be fixed up to eventually reopen the business.
So after all this shit that he's put Jack's family through and all this crap, he's like, you know what? We should open the business again. Like, how fucking fucked up do you gotta be? You know?
And that is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, and all the bad press and all that, whatever, like, even with, selling merch and stuff like that, like, it almost kind of turned it into like I'm trying to think of the right word. It's like a sideshow attraction. Like, people, oh, this is the restaurant where all those people were murdered, and it kind of like drew in business for like a fucked up reason.
Yeah, it's got like an infamous backstory,
Yeah. So, of course, Felix is taking the opportunity to capitalize on that and reopen the restaurant. Because
he's always been a slime ball,
Yeah. So, between July 12th and 14th of 1978, 3 BSI employees, and their names are Kevin, Hillary, and Ashley, are the ones that were tasked with going to the storage facility to reprogram the animatronics. And they found that the animatronics were in such disrepair that they couldn't be properly programmed. Like, they were just so...
It was beyond fixing.
Yeah, like run down, rusty, like just awful. And Ashley in particular, she remarked about a key that they received, but couldn't find like a use for it or what door it went to or anything like that when they first got there. But then she eventually found that it unlocked the back room section of the facility. And that was just filled with like extra animatronic parts and little odds and ends like that. But then when she's back there exploring, she encounters an animatronic clown named Billy. And Billy was used specifically for birthday parties. Like, he had a cassette player in his belly that would play like
happy birthday and stuff.
Yeah, like different music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then at that point, when she discovers Billy and he starts glitching and doing all kinds of creepy stuff, that's when Bond kind of comes around and then murders her and then stuffs her inside of Billy. And Kevin and Hillary just assumed that Ashley just left. Like, they were just like, well, she probably just left because it's kind of creepy and she probably went early. So they end up leaving without her, unscathed. Like, they never encounter any animatronics or anything. Then the caretaker for the facility, while he's there, looking around, just making sure everything's okay, he encounters the animatronic and the foul smell that's coming from it and everything, and they kind of assume that there was someone inside there. So then they closed down the facility, and that was either like 1978 or 79. It's not fully clear, but it was sometime around then.
Yeah.
So this is like a separate incident that happens away from the restaurant that's now drawing all this negative attention because 3 employees go, only 2 come back. So
I know
it's crazy. And then we're almost through the end of the timeline. And
yeah, so now we're jumping 4 years later after Ashley, or was it Ashley or Hill? No, Ashley. After Ashley gets stuffed inside of Billy the Clown. So yes. This is 4 years after that in 1982.
So this is October 10th, 1982. Mm-hmm. Another BSI employee named Brian Wells was hired as the new caretaker for the facility. And this would be the first one they had since it was closed down. He was tasked with reprogramming all the animatronics and recording, recording
his
everything.
Process, yeah.
Yeah. And let's see. So while he was there, and he was programming Bond specifically, things seemed to be going okay, and then the animatronics started to act strange, and he was like, what the fuck? And Bond actually ended up chasing Brian out of the facility into the forest, finally catching up to him and murdering him.
Mm-hmm. And then this whole encounter is recorded and is in one of the Walten Files. It's either number 2 or number 3.
Yes.
And you hear him go to the facility, see Bond try to, because he recorded the whole thing. You had to record his process. And then he gets chased out of there and he ends up getting murdered anyways. So
yeah,
even 4 years later, after that initial murder with Ashley, it's like now someone else is getting murdered. It's like, we just got to throw these things. We got to set them on fire.
Yeah.
Get rid of them, but we're just going to hang on to them for whatever reason. And the fact that Felix in that 4 years of time, still hadn't reopened the restaurant and was just letting them sit there. Like, what are you doing for 4 years? That's what I want to know. What the fuck are you doing for 4 years? Are you drinking yourself to death?
I was going to say getting DUIs, apparently. Like,
yeah, no shit. Sorry,
you know?
Go ahead.
He, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, after everything that happened, he was still just trying to push that fucking, you know, that corporate greed, for lack of a better way to put it. And, you know, squeeze out every last penny he could from this franchise. So let's see. So yeah, that was Brian. And so 5 days later, so this is October 15, 1982, we are introduced to Sophie Walten, who is the only surviving Walten family member, the oldest of the children.
Right, so this is Jack's third child. Well, technically the first. And the two that were killed were his two youngest. So there's three kids in total. And Sophie's been alive this whole time.
Yep, and she wasn't, you know, she wasn't prevalent up until this point. We do learn that she was taking these pills, like after everything had happened, to like suppress her memory. So she, you know, to kind of help with the trauma of like her entire family, like being murdered. Well, we don't know about Jack.
Or just going, well, murdered / missing.
Yeah. And so we're introduced to her and her friend Jenny. And Jenny finds an arcade game made by BSI called Bunny Farm. And this is using the characters from Bob's Burgers. And it has all these like little mini games and stuff in it. And while they were playing the game would glitch sometimes, and it would show like all this disturbing imagery and stuff that was designed to bring up her past and help her remember. When the first couple glitches started happening, that Sophie was like, fuck this, I'm not doing this, and they stopped playing. But the next day, Sophie gets curious and plays the game again, and realizes by herself, and realizes the more she's playing, it's piecing together the story for her, basically. And this is where she realizes that the pills that she's taking are impeding her memory, and she slowly starts to uncover the events that happen around the disappearance of her family. And then she, you know, talks to Jenny about it. Jenny kind of convinces her to like get some help to remember everything that she's forgotten. And the very last piece of the timeline is that BSI shut down for good in early 1983. So not too long after this.
Yeah. So the company shuts down for good. They never open Bob's Burgers again, despite Felix talking about wanting to reopen it, and it stops, you know? And as far as we know, those animatronics are still in that facility. They never left. So
they never saw the light of day. I'm thinking if he does another part, we'll learn more about like Sophie's part of the story and
the fate of those animatronics, like if they even open the restaurant back up again, like what happens to Felix, you know, does he succumb to his alcoholism, or, you know, whatever.
So there's still like cliffhangers as far as like events, but
if they bring more out, like more like videos and evidence and stuff, we'll definitely do a part 2. So
we will do a part 2 and update you. So I know we said the same thing about Local 58 and never did it, but like it's fine.
To be fair, I think Local 58 only came out with like a couple more videos after, and they really didn't say much, so it wasn't much of an update to that. So
they were just more for like shock factor, not so much like leading any like concrete storyline or anything like that. So that's the abridged version of the event of timelines. There's this restaurant that opens. Before it opens, there's this incident that happens that causes like a domino effect with a bunch of other like murders and disappearances and stuff like that. The restaurant is short-lived because of this, and shit still continued after it closed down to other people. And now we're learning about Sophie, and that she remembers everything that happened, and she has to like dig it up basically through revisiting her past. So that's, and I I would say that Sophie's like the main character here.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that knows kind of everything.
And is still alive.
Yeah. I know some people argue that Felix is the main character, but he's not prevalent.
No, he's more like, would you say the protagonist? He's like the William Afton.
Yeah.
If you know anything about what Five Nights at Freddy's, he's the William Afton of this story.
Yeah, the villain, we'll say.
The villain, yeah.
So, it's just crazy
or
how,
antagonist. I don't know which one is which. Don't listen to me.
I don't remember either. Hold on. Let me... 1 second. I'm putting in the Bob Ross music.
Yeah.
Protagonist.
Okay, I was right.
I think. Hold on. A person who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something. Oh no, so he'd be the antagonist.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think a pro is good. So anyway,
yes.
So yeah, because Jack, we see his face a lot in the videos, and God, the edits that they do for him with that creepy smile are just...
It's part of the art style of it, because it's meant to be children's entertainment. It's meant to be like warm and friendly or whatever, but it's just the way that like all the characters are drawn and the imagery and everything. There's just this underlying creepy tone to it. It's like, I feel bad for saying this, but it kind of gets the point across of like how I think the art style is supposed to be. It looks like if you went into a school in the 70s and you saw the arts and crafts on the wall, that's what it looks like.
Yes.
That is the art style of this, I feel like.
Like crude. It's not like fully finished, polished, defined. It's like they're taking, images and distorting them. Like, I'm pretty sure, and what is the creator's name? I wrote it down.
Martin Wells, I think?
Martin Wells. So he's Chilean. He's a Chilean artist and animator. And it's like he looked up every creepy image that ever existed and compiled it into like one series. Like, he's using like high contrast, shadows, glitching, like dissonant music even. Like, it just...
Yeah, and you know what?
Everything.
I like that it's shocking without the jump scare. You know what I mean? Like, it still creeps you out, but there's no like real like dun, like a jump scare noise, you know, that like knocks you on your ass. But
I would say... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, faces kind of materialize and they're kind of just in the background. They're not very like in your face, for lack of a better term, but like they exist though, and you kind of have to go back and watch it a little bit to pick up on some stuff, because there'll be quick flashes of a face or quick flashes of like some kind of imagery or something. So he kind of does it on purpose, so you like slow down and pause and kind of look at what's going on. And then the pausing is what jump scares you, because you're like, what the hell was that? And then you pause it, it's this fucking unbelievable face, and you're like, holy shit. Yeah,
like it's almost like the antithesis of Five Nights at Freddy's, I would say, because like Five Nights at Freddy's use jump scares as their shtick, like that was the thing. Like, if you didn't do something in time, something would jump out and blah, and you would like fly back in your chair. But
it is a game in comparison. So for game's sake, they had to, kind of bump up the horror element with jump scares. But considering this is analog, it's completely different.
I like the subtle creepiness of it. It's not subtle, I shouldn't say that, but like it's not a very obvious jump scare. Like, you don't know when the scare is coming, because with like a lot of horror series you can kind of gauge, like the music will get more intense or it'll get quiet or something will happen, like there'll be a cue. With this, you never know like when the scare is coming. It's like you're sitting on the edge of your seat the whole time, and in some of them the scare never comes, which is almost worse. Like,
I know. You know what? That's the halfway point between heartburn and orgasm. The buildup of a horror game or movie or something, that music, that's the halfway point.
Yes.
Because I'd rather deal with that music than have heartburn. But obviously coming is like top of the tier. You know what I mean?
Dude, you know what? It's so true. Because like, dude, I'm telling you, like when I was watching this series, and to me what stands out from like, makes it stand out compared to like and what are the other analog horror series? Like the Mandela Catalog or something
there's
like
a lot
that.
of controversy around that one, which we won't talk about.
Well, I'm talking just about visually. Like,
oh, right.
The difference or even just like Local 58, the difference for me is just, he's obviously utilizing like the analog tropes of like, static jump cuts, like low quality audio and visuals and stuff like that, pixelation,
backwards text and people speaking backwards, so you have to slow it down and play it in reverse. And
like obviously he's doing that, but like the visuals that go with it are not typical of like an analog horror series. Like there'll be like cuts of like different like commercials and stuff that might come through and stuff. His are just like, you could tell that they're just not realistic, and I think that's what makes it a little bit more like interesting, because the visuals themselves, like everyone has like elongated faces, hollow eyes, there's blood, he uses a lot of like implying realism without actually making it look real. Like it's very off-putting. It's kind of like how our brains kind of like process like basic concepts of things rather than just like seeing detail. Like if we put up like, I don't know, a picture of, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like the colors for the Taco Bell logo, we would know it's Taco Bell even if it doesn't say Taco Bell, but we know by the colors that's what it's implying.
Like so that purple or whatever.
Yeah, so he does a lot of that, is like it's implying that there's someone or something there without it being obvious. And I think that is the most uncanny thing, because it makes you second guess yourself and you're like, wait, is this happening? Like,
yeah, and you know what I find, speaking of like contrasting stuff, is like, I think the contrast between the super cartoony style of the animatronics and like all the artwork that associates with Bond's Burgers and stuff, and and then all the cartoons that came out afterwards or whatever, in contrast to the real life like imagery that he uses with like the jump scares and the distorted faces and stuff, the stark contrast between those two and how he goes back and forth between them is, I think it's really cool. I think it's really well done, because it's really hard to like bring realism into cartoons and vice versa, you know what I mean, without it looking like super cheesy and like weird. But the human side of it, like the real imagery side of it, is just cartoony enough that it kind of just works, but it's also realistic at the same time. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but if you watch it, you'll see what I mean. Like, the people are people, like anatomically people, but they have this cartoonish vibe to them. Like, the faces are kind of distorted and crooked to the left, and eyes sunken in and all that stuff. So it looks cartoony in that sense, but the anatomy of the people is like very real. It's proportionate. It looks like a person. It doesn't look weird. And even the animatronics too, just the way that they're super tall, like every other animatronic, like you see at Chuck E. Cheese or whatever, or Disney. And but the bunny ones and the sheep, like they look like their characters. You're not like, what is that supposed to be? Like, it's not that cartoony. It's just a good mishmash of realism versus like cartoon, and that's I think that's just a really cool thing, because with a lot of analog, it's like it's either super realistic or it's super cartoony, and there's like no real in between. Like, going back to the Backrooms again, that is all real life. Even the monster, which doesn't even look like it would belong in this world. It does
looks like
realistic.
A pile of electrical tape. That's the monster. Like, quite literally. And, I love that too, because he kind of, he definitely has a distinct style, but there's multiple styles that can be identified through the whole thing. And as an artist, it's just like, chef's kiss fucking shit there. Like,
it's cool to have multiple styles, but at the same time, his multiple styles all mesh into one style for him. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see what I mean if you watch it.
Yeah, and I also think, too, he was kind of, like, developing his style while doing the videos. Like, if you compare the first video to the fourth, you could tell that he's definitely a lot more, like, he's learned a lot more. It's a little bit more polished, but it's still creepy in its own right. Like, the first...
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, the first one was more just for like shock value, and you're just sitting there going, what the hell is happening? And like the fourth one had like a story and everything was concrete. And that is the biggest difference between this and Five Nights at Freddy's. This has a solid timeline with clearly laid out dates. Five Nights at Freddy's, the timeline is more convoluted than the human nervous system. Like, I don't know.
And you know what it is? And really quick, just to go back to that style of how he like evolved while like doing the Walten Files, how Martin did. This comment on the fourth one sums it up the best. It says, good news, Martin can animate really well now. Bad news, Martin can animate really well now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. But
yeah, because that means the next one, if there is a next one, which we're hoping there is, it's going to be intense. Like,
right. But to go back what you're saying about Five Nights at Freddy's and how it's all convoluted, it's because Scott did it on purpose. I got to find this video, and I'm going to put it down below, explaining the difference between Undertale and Five Nights at Freddy's, and how Undertale has this pristine, beautiful timeline. It's all well thought out, but Five Nights at Freddy's is all over the place because Scott cannot make up the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. He cannot make up his mind about what he wants. So he changes things on a whim, and it drives people crazy. But he knows by doing it, people are going to be invested no matter what. But the fact that he does that is so fucking frustrating that it's now to the point where he just doesn't care what happens. He's like, well, there's some concrete stuff, but you kind of just fill in the blanks and assume whatever you want because I don't know. Like, it's very like... I think it's just a shitty way of writing, to be honest. And
it is. And I also think, too, like channels like Game Theory, you know, where Matt Pat would, like, do the heavy lifting for him and basically working with him to, like, establish something concrete, which he's been doing now for 10 goddamn years, literally a whole decade. Like, almost 100 fucking videos about this series alone. Like... You know, I think that's kind of because Scott saw that, you know, when Matt was doing that, like it drew more attention to his franchise.
So he would just change shit at the drop of a hat because Matt would get really close to what he was going for. And Scott's like, actually, I'm going to go this way and just fuck with him, you know? And it's infuriating to see that, you know? And that's why after a while, I just dropped off the Five Nights at Freddy's train because it's like, it was to the point where nothing made sense. You can't follow anything. It's like you find out once something that's pretty concrete, but you have to read book number 5 out of 10 of these Five Nights at Freddy's books, and it's in chapter 10, second paragraph. It's like, I'm not fucking gonna read that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's too much. It's too much information. It's too much to interpret. And people like to do it for fun, and like, that's fine. But for me personally, I need something a little more concrete. Because,
same.
Like, we like to talk about this stuff and we like to speculate and it's fun, but having a clear, concise timeline and then just inferring from that, like, that's way better than, well, what you thought was, you know, true for 5 years actually isn't true anymore. So here's like 10 more questions that you have about it. It's like, it's infuriating. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. And like, the thing too with the Walten Files is if they wanted to turn it into like a game series, you know, like take Bunny Farm or something, and then you can actually play it yourself. That would be like, it would blow up because it would actually have like a concrete beginning, middle, and end. You know, it's not like leaving you on a cliffhanger. There's not random shit thrown in there for you to go, what the fuck is that? And then it doesn't.
And it would
make sense.
be canon to the story, and it would add more context, but without going so far off the path of the story that it's just hard to follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, so, I honestly think Martin Wells, that's his name. Yeah. He outdid himself with this. Like, this is like not
it's
even
fantastic.
Just like, yeah, it's not even just like, you know, tribute to Five Nights at Freddy's. It is an artistic, like, masterpiece. At least I think so. It combines all the right things in all the right ways, you know, like, you know, the first few you're like, what the hell is going on? But as the videos started to come out and he started to learn more and like you said,
more context. Yeah.
It's like this amazing fucking story. And like, that's the other thing with Scott too, is like, once it's final, everything is, you know, done, he can't make more games. He can't fucking, but he could, but he chose to just drag on the same fucking storyline forever and ever. And like, I'm gonna say it, I watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I didn't really care for it. It seemed very rushed. It seemed very weird and just like, you know, like that scene where like she just befriends all the evil animatronics, you know, because, oh, she's a nice girl or whatever. I thought it was so fucking bizarre, you know, like the ending was so like, it was more cheesy than like the Power Rangers. Like, I'm only saying that I've been binging the like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from the early 90s. I've been binging that show. And
where?
On Pluto TV. Literally.
I gotta go watch. I didn't know it was on there. I want to go watch Power Rangers.
I was like, no wonder, because as a kid I wasn't crazy about kaiju stuff and like Japanese, you know, movies and animation and stuff like that. As an adult, I fucking love it. So I went back and rewatched the series. Anyway, side tangent.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the other difference too. And that's why this shit fucking took off, because like basically Martin Wells saw what the, you know, the Five Nights at Freddy's community wanted. And he was like, all right, I'm going to give it to you. And like, did it, you know, and he gave us, you know, a concrete story, a good story, a scary story.
As you could see from us explaining it, which, sorry, it was all spoilers, by the way. But if you want to go back for more context, please go watch those videos. But
yeah, if you don't want spoilers, listen to this episode. I'm saying it too late now, but listen to it after. Like, you watch it. But you know, that's why I really loved it too. And also, and you know, of course, Five Nights at Freddy's was the first one to really do this. They touched upon that nostalgia factor, because I remember when the very first game came out, like the day it came out
in 2014.
In 2014, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, we used to go to Chuck E. Cheese all the time as a kids," which we talked about many times on this podcast. Like, we used to go to arcades. This was our shit, and they turned it into a horror game. That's going to be really cool. If he never did anything else after the first Five Nights at Freddy's, it still would be making money to this day. Like, in how many like spin-offs are there of the same genre, which is now a genre?
Yeah.
Like,
he inspired the, you know, sitting, because if you never played the Five Nights at Freddy's games, you're sitting at a security desk with security cameras in front of you. You can't get up and walk around or leave or anything. You have doors on either side that you can close, a flashlight to flash at them, and that's about it. Like,
yeah, like you're stuck.
Yeah, you're just basically in one place the entire game for the first few games, and then eventually there's more movement and there's more stuff. But anyway, there's so many games. There's Five Nights at Candy's, which is a lot like that, and
Five Nights at Funkies.
Like, yeah, and all these like spin-offs, like, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's, just like fan games, like, that uses the likeness of the Freddy characters, but, you know, does it differently. And, you know, it's tons and tons and tons of games that came out of it, which is a good thing about it. And, you know, then people are just being creative with that, you know, as a starting point of a haunted pizzeria, you know?
Right.
Where the animatronics come out and they kill you, you know? Which, that's the Walten Files, you know? It's people getting stuffed into these bodies of these animatronics, and you only ever see just Bon killing people, though. In the, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's series, it's all of them, but Bon is really the only one who kills anyone from what we've seen.
There's still a lot of speculation about what spirit is possessing Bon, like
whether it's Jack Walton or
the kids, you know, that were murdered and they're vengeful for their death, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And like, MapPad does a much better job explaining the parallels between the characters from Five Nights at Freddy's versus the Walten Files, and oh, this is supposed to be this character and whoever. And
yeah, if you really care about that stuff, you know. Yeah,
we're not going to get into all that, but like, you know, it's just interesting how it's never made explicitly clear still who Bon is. And at this point, we can, you know, we could even assume that he's just an outlier, someone that we haven't even been introduced to yet. It's just like this possessed fucking
because
robot.
they talk about a shadow man helping them. And in the 4th video, again, because I just watched this, so it's fresh in my mind, when Susan dies, she's talking to Bon, like the physical embodiment of Bon. So it could either be Jack, it could be the shadow man that they reference, it could be someone else. We don't know. But from what I have seen in those videos, Bon is definitely a male, because he's got that deep, like, male voice, but we don't know if it's Jack or if we don't know if it's someone else. I don't think it's the kids, because the kids were afraid of Bon, and they were like, you know, they wanted to help Susan get away from him, you know, when she like was in between life and death before she gets stuffed in the suit. So I don't think it's the kids. I definitely think it's either Jack or it's just some outlier, some person. It's not Charles, though, because Charles dies after, you know, that. So
So I know whoever it is, and honestly, I know a map had said I just don't see it being Jack. I don't either, because why would he murder his own wife and, like, you know, his Susan and everything? And it doesn't make sense to me. And obviously, it's not Felix because he's still alive. So
it's got to be someone that we haven't been introduced to yet, or some kind of something.
I have a feeling when there's another video that comes out and talks more about Sophie's, like, life and stuff, I have a feeling she's going to divulge who it is.
Yeah.
And maybe it's someone related to the franchise. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Like,
yeah, because it's implied that Jack is in whatever realm that his wife and kids and everyone else who's passed away, he's stuck in, like, TVs, and, like, you see in the tapes too, his face pop up a lot saying they're like, help me, I'm trapped here, like, whatever, you know. So
yeah, so I
don't think it's Jack either, but I'm really curious to, and I don't think it's Charles either.
No, I speculate that Jack was murdered, but not by the animatronics. There's got to be some kind of, like, incident that happened away from the restaurant, and
maybe someone that Felix knows or something, because maybe Felix panicked and didn't want Jack to find out about his kids, so he just had him, like, murdered by someone, and I have no idea. Maybe he made a deal with the devil or something, some devil shit might play into it. I don't know. But
I mean, it's endless possibilities who it could be.
Yeah, but with the track record of this series, I'm pretty sure it'll be more concrete if he releases more stuff later, which I think he will. Who it's actually, the identity of the person is, who's Bon. So
yeah,
unless Bon is just its own separate entity and he's just fucked up or something, but I guess we'll find that out.
That's amazing that is the only question mark on this series. Like, with Five Nights at Freddy's, there's like 17 of those at a time, always. Like, nothing ever quite fits together, or, like, you know, there's always like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Like, we forgot about this person or whatever. Like, there's always, like, something to be desired. And it's like, that's why I love this series so much, because it's so much, like, it fulfills that need of, like, yes, like, I know what's happening, like that completionist type thing in us. And, like, you know, it's that coupled with the art style alone, even if there was no backstory and he just made, like, a weird video in that art style, I would still love it. Like,
well, yeah, like a one-off cartoon with that art style, that would be amazing.
I love it, you know, and, you know, coupled with that creepy music, very high contrast, a lot of red, you know. I noticed that a lot of reds to symbolize, like, death and blood and gore, whatever.
Murder,
without being explicitly gory. Like, there's some parts that are, and it's just, like, there for a couple seconds. But I love, like, again, I love the implied horror of it. Like, he doesn't just come out right and, like, oh, here's a dead child. Like, no, he kind of, like, takes two souls and puts them in this, like, ethereal fucking setting, and, like, it's implied that they're dead without it being, you know, they're in a field. That's what it was. They're, like, in this field, and there's, like, white lights, and it's, you know, implies afterlife.
Right. And I love how you make the series as scary as you want it to be, because like I mentioned earlier about pausing when there's like a flash of an image on the screen or something, you can choose to go right over that image and just be none the wiser what it is, or you pause it and literally scare the crap out of yourself with this distorted face on the screen. I think that is genius, because it's not like a cheap, just random jump scare out of nowhere. It's methodically placed, and it's up to your discretion as to whether or not you want to jump scare yourself or not. Right. Or you make it as scary as you want it to be. Because you could just watch through the whole thing, never pause it, don't look too much into it, and yeah, it's creepy, but it's not scary. But if you stop to look and you pause these images and you really like take the time to look, it's very scary.
It's very disturbing. And like the other disturbing aspect of it is he types out all his own subtitles. So you have to watch these videos with the subtitles on.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that. Like, he types them all out because the audio is so like jumbled in some places, and you literally can't figure it out.
And it's low grade. It sounds like it's from the 70s, not very clear, kind of jarbled all over the place. So yeah, please put those subtitles on if you're going to watch them. It gives a lot more, context as to what is going on.
The subtitles also, in one of the videos, like gave a URL to like an extra video that provides more context.
It's an unlisted video. Yes. So that was in the first or second one, I believe. So,
which is really cool. He's putting fucking secret shit. That's why you gotta like, like
but
they're saying,
go back and
pause. Yeah.
Right.
You have to like go back and pause, because sometimes things just blip on the screen real fast. You're like, what the fuck was that? And when you pause it, it's like part of a URL, and you have to find the other part through the episode. And I think it's cool.
It's hidden, but it's not so hidden you can't find it. Like, it's pretty obvious, but you wouldn't know that unless you turn the subtitles on. Like, you know what I mean? It's not hard to find. You just have to, if you really want to look, you just search all corners for just put in a little effort, and you'll find all the secrets of these videos.
I love how like immersive it is in that aspect, because it's not a video game like Five Nights at Freddy's, but he's adding elements to it to make it feel like you're witnessing or playing along with it.
Like you're a part of it.
Yeah. And I like that too, because even if there wasn't that aspect to it, it would still be effective. But the fact that you now have to like do investigating, you don't know what you're getting into, it adds to that element of like creepiness, like, or mystery. It's like, it's so effective. And I love this fucking series for that reason. I'm so excited for part 5 because I know it's coming.
Yeah, and I am too. Now I'm going to go back and rewatch all of them.
I know, right? Like, it's just such a impactful like message, and it's very like,
it's well spaced out. It's not like a bunch of shit thrown at you at one time, because this series is going on since 2020. It's been 4 years in the making. So, and they only have 5 parts.
The first video was uploaded April 26th of 2020, which is almost exactly 4 years ago today. So
yeah, because it's April 23rd when we're recording this. So happy almost 4 years, Walten Files.
Yay!
This is for you.
Will it go up on the 26th? Hold on.
No, that's in 3 days.
The 29th. Okay, that's right.
It'll go 3 days after.
Right. So we're going to be releasing this a little after 4 years exactly. The first episode was uploaded, which is cool.
Which not planned, by the way, but it's cool that it worked out that way.
Yeah. So, and I really love how like you said, like the pacing of this series, it isn't too fast. It isn't like too slow. It's like all the information's coming out exactly as it should be.
There's 4 main Walten Files videos, but then there's 17 videos on the channel. So there's 13 other videos of just extra stuff if you want to watch it in context. So you don't have to. You can literally just watch the main 4 and that's it. But if you really want to like go tits deep into it, you can. So
and like I said earlier, Martin Wells says it's not canon to the main videos, like the story. Like they're just little like animations, and what I believe to be just him practicing animating and stuff like that, and kind of developing his craft, if you will. So
yeah, so if you really want to get into the whole series, you only really need to watch the 4 main, and it's called the Walten Files Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. But there's other ones that are, some are just 50 seconds, others are 35 minutes of just extra stuff, you know, and there's 13 other videos of that as of right now, you know.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that this does fall under the category of like found footage, because all the Walten Files videos are archive videos that this guy Anthony is like compiling together and releasing to the public. So I wonder if Anthony's going to come back at some point too. Like,
might be involved.
Yeah, he's not explicitly. I don't think he was explicitly like introduced in the video. I think he was just in like the description of like the first video. It was just like, blah, blah, blah. Anthony uploaded this compilation of blah, 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 or whatever it says. And so I don't think he's like introduced. He might be introduced later. Maybe Anthony's the one that knows who fucking Bon is. And that's how we find, I mean, there's so much up to like interpretation.
Yeah, he could go a lot of different ways, but I feel like we'll get a really concrete answer at some point.
Yeah, like we won't have to wait 6 more videos for us to find out. Like it'll be soon, and you know, it's gonna be a sigh of relief when we know who it is.
Yes, and you know what? This was so fun to talk about. I love talking about stuff like this and speculating and dissecting art styles and styles of just horror and like whatever. Like this is the stuff we're really into. Like this is what our podcast is about, is stuff like this.
Yeah.
we like talk about topics in that we just find so interesting, whether it's like in our personal lives or something we're watching right now or like whatever, and just dissect it. That is the whole point of this show. And like having something like this exist is just so good for not just our podcast, but just for you and I to talk about, Meg, because this is us talking 99% of the time.
I was gonna say, this is literally what we do all the time. Like when I call up Lauren, or when she's here and we're talking, it's like shit like this that we're talking. Like, did you check out this fucking series or this game or this whatever? And it's like that's what we really do. Like,
or we reminisce about like stuff from our childhood or things that we loved, like shows and cartoons, like whatever.
Dude, like you and I are into so much weird stuff too, like, and we've done episodes obviously where we talk about like real life shit. Like we did the episode about your wedding and my ex and, like everything else. But like, it's stuff like this that we really love. And like, we're probably going to be doing a lot more like horror series because we have like 2, almost 3 years of like not doing the podcast to make up for still.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about Liminal Land, the back rooms. That'll probably just be one episode itself.
Yep.
And maybe some other series and stuff like that. If you know a series or like a series that you want us to talk about and to check out, email us at thegeminiarchives@gmail.com.
Please, or just leave a comment. Like, let us know, because we are so open to checking anything outlets like that. And if you know something good, we want to hear about it. So
yeah, like we are open to anything, honestly. Like all things weird on the internet, like very niche, very like cool stuff. Like I'm not even gonna lie, it's to the point now where it's like trickling down into the music I listen to. Like I've been listening to a lot of like mall vaporwave is the way I would describe it. Like it's just mall music from the late 80s, early 90s, and like synthwave type stuff. And
well, because you can only listen to metal for so long or any genre for so long before you're like, I am so bored, I need something completely different to cleanse the palate,
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, don't get me wrong, we be listening to metal, but like,
oh yeah,
it's just like when I'm like just home and hanging out and like doing stuff, I very rarely do I put on metal. I put it on mostly when I'm like drawing or doing something like that. But I'm just like hanging out or whatever. I put on like stuff that's kind of, and I guess synthwave isn't quiet, but I put on stuff that's a little bit quieter.
Mellow.
Yeah, mellow is a good, like I love lo-fi hip hop stuff. And
I was gonna say, like, I literally listen to lo-fi hip hop and vaporwave more than anything now. That's all I listen to.
Yeah.
But,
and like,
and I mean, I listen to metal still because my husband plays it a lot, and we put it on when we're cooking dinner and whatever. But you know, generally though, when I'm just, like you said, you know, having some downtime, I'm chilling. That's what I have on. Like, I like to play that when I'm like playing games sometimes. Like if I'm building in The Sims or doing some kind of relaxing game, I put that stuff on because it helps me relax.
Yeah, and it's just background noise. And even just watching these kinds of videos and stuff, I mean, the Walten Files, I wouldn't call it relaxing, but like,
no,
it's like food for your brain almost, because like, you're actually doing critical thinking and like trying to figure out the timeline and you're paying attention. It's not just like, you know, watching like a Mr. Beast video, like where it's just mindless entertainment. Like, it's actually involved. It's kind of like a visual audio like story, because you and I read a lot. Like, we are bookworms, always have been, and like, you know, things like this, it's interesting. Like, how many times have we read stuff like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark like a million times, and to us this is just like a visual like version of that. Like, they're like tiny horror movies, you know, and like easily digestible horror movies, and that's what makes it so fun, because like, it's not the commitment of watching a whole ass movie, you know, especially if it's like a Stephen King 4.5 hour motherfucker, but like, you know, it's easily digestible. You get just as scared, you get just as much out of it without having to sit there and having to pay attention for so long. And I hate to say it, everyone's attention span has gone down thanks to like the internet and TikTok and shit like that. Like,
well, because a lot of stuff is like bite-sized now, like a minute and a half, sometimes even less. That's all the attention span people have anymore, and that's why people don't sit. It's like either that or people will watch like a 3-hour like video essay about fucking Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, there's no in between. Because I'm guilty of the video essays too. Don't get me wrong. Like, I watch shit about people I've never even cared about, just because I'm like, this is so interesting to hear this from someone else. But like, you know, like, there's really no in between anymore. Like, the 10-minute video is like kind of dead, honestly.
Yeah.
But the fact that, you know, the Walten Files puts out, you know, these archived videos, and like, some of them are 10 minutes, some of them are 30 minutes, some of them are 2 minutes. Like, it's all over the place. I think that's really cool, because it just means people will watch it regardless. Like, it doesn't matter how long it is. If it's a part of the story, I'm gonna watch it, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that he doesn't put out a video every week or something, like, that's kind of whenever he's done and feels like uploading it. And I kind of like that more. Like, it's kind of like with Nick and Ryan, like their channel too.
Yeah, they kind of just do it whenever. And they have a Patreon, because here's the thing about not uploading consistently on YouTube. It brings like they have like a rate, I guess, like their cents per view, you know? And that brings it way down when you're not consistently uploading like every day or every other day or something. It sucks. Like, I hate that. Like, people who upload every day make a lot more money than people who don't.
Right.
So if you ever see, like, especially back like years ago when people were like doing those daily vlogs and just filming for 10 minutes a day and then posting it to YouTube, they'd make a shit ton of money because they would upload consistently. Right. You know, so when you see people who don't upload all the time, they don't care about the money. And if they do, they have a Patreon. So, yeah, you know, they don't really need to have a concise and, you know, easy to read schedule, you know, is what I'm saying. So
yeah, and like, we'll never make a dime off of this fucking podcast, which is fine. I'm totally cool with that. But like, you know, it's, if someone is trying to like, you know, make money off of it, like, it's, you know, support the people you like. Like, I don't know if the Walten Files has a Patreon or anything like that, but
I don't know either.
You know, I haven't been on Patreon in a while because I've been having some financial difficulties. But once I'm past that, there's quite a few Patreons I'm probably gonna go back to. Like, I was on the Carpetbaggers Patreon for a while. Our friend Francisco has one for Jamming Out All Badass. And I'll be contributing to that at some point. Like, there's quite a lot of people on Patreon now, and it just it gives them that little boost.
Quick research, they did have a Patreon, but he closed it a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird. I wonder why.
I don't know. I just saw it really fast on Reddit, so I guess I'll look more into that. But he did have one at one point, but I guess he doesn't really care about the money now or something.
Yeah, I was gonna
maybe he makes enough off of residuals on YouTube. He doesn't need it,
or he just needed that extra money for like different like editing programs or whatever the fuck he uses.
Needed it for a specific amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's cool, honestly. Like, you know, I probably will never get a Patreon or do any of that stuff because we don't care about making money off of this shit.
I mean, if it gets to that point where it gets big enough that people are asking for it, sure, we'll do it for the people. But personally, we wouldn't even start it now or anything like that. Like,
no,
it's just, this is for funsies. This is us just talking about shit we want to do and doing whatever. So
shit that we like the Walten Files. And I know the next episode we are doing the back rooms finally in Liminal Land. And if you want us to talk about something else, let us know. Like, you know, you're the ones listening, so your opinion matters. Like,
but
otherwise, we're going to probably be doing this for a while and catching up on the stuff that we haven't been able to do. And, you know, because we weren't doing the podcast for a few years. And
I hope you guys like it. I mean, if you don't, that's cool. You don't have to like it. But if you do, that's even cooler. So
yeah, if you like weird, creepy stuff or just internet mysteries, because that's a whole other can of worms. It's just like mysteries from Reddit and like missing persons and stuff like that. Like I watch a lot of those videos too, and like that's fun. You know, that's
we can even talk about like a murder case or something if something that fascinates us, or you know, it just depends on how we're feeling. But we like really weird and niche crap like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. Literally.
But so, I think we should wrap this up, though, because I feel like we've been talking for way too long. But
yeah, sorry if this is another 2-hour episode, but like,
we had a lot to talk about and explain beforehand, so
we just have fun doing this stuff. Like,
yeah, I know we lose track of time, but I looked at the time and I'm like, oh my god, we've been talking for so long.
I know, but I mean, thank you for letting us get that out, and please go check it out. Honestly, like.
Yeah, everything will be linked in the description of this video. Please check out the Walten Files. Check out anyone who's talked about it, including us. Don't check it out until you're done with this episode, though, because the view would be nice. But, like, do it after, you know? Hopefully we pique your interest.
Or go watch the series before and then come back to us if you don't want any spoilers. So, but it might already be too late for that because we just spoiled the whole fucking thing.
I know, we said it right at the end. Oh, by the way, spoilers. Like, what are we thinking?
So, but thank you for joining us today on that amazing journey through the Walten Files.
Yes, I'm putting in Black Witchery in this fucking episode.
Hell yeah.
I listened to, I can't think of the album recently, but my husband put it on.
Desecration of the Holy Kingdom.
That's it. And it's heavy as shit. We're putting in a song. Everyone check out Black Witchery too, because they fucking roll.
Yeah. Dude, I love how we're like, oh, we don't really listen to metal that much, and we put two of the heaviest songs in existence.
Well, it goes with the theming. It's about murder and whatever. So
fuck it.
It's fine. Fuck it. I mean, catch me next time, you know, after this, you know, guest episode we do after this episode comes out. Fuck it. I'm going to put in fucking Cyndi Lauper and the Beach Boys. Yeah. Everyone get fucking ready.
Dude, that was like when Jamming Out All Badass switched over to Twitch. The first stream he did just to check the copyright on it. It was like, I don't even know what he was playing. It was like Disco Duck. Someone like requested the Beastie Boys, like all this random shit.
Hell yeah.
And like we were having a fucking blast because you know, it's every metalhead. Like not, if you listen to just metal all the fucking time, you're lying. Yeah. Like you're not. Like no one can possibly do that. And
like that's boring. It's like eating meat all the time and nothing else.
I love meat, but like,
oh girl, same.
On that note,
yes,
we're gonna wrap it up here.
We're gonna play some Black Witchery and get the fuck out of here. We're gonna fucking make like a tree and get the fuck out of here, or whatever the saying is.
Make like a tree?
Yeah.
Make like sheep and get the flock out of here.
Yeah, that's it.
Lauren. Make like a tree. Could you imagine if trees were just like, all right, I'm out, and they just started walking away?
If I saw a tree walking down the street, I would be walking the other way, all the way home.
Yeah.
And away from the tree. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this today. You know?
Dude, with the way the world has been lately, a walking tree is the least of my concerns. Like,
yeah,
you know,
no kidding.
I'm like, whatever. Just people posting it to TikTok, like, oh, it's weird. But
yeah.
We're going to wrap it up here. We're going to put in some Black Witchery. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for checking us out. All the new people, hi and hello. We love you.
Hello. Yes, we do.
Please, I'm not even kidding. Please leave us suggestions if you know any other analog horror series or anything creepy, like the weird side of the internet in general, and we'll
we haven't talked about that you would like us to talk about.
Yes, let us know, please. But on that note, we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.